Hi, I'm April, and I'm here to talk a little bit about my Merit America experience and how I used networking and how I made that networking work for me and gave myself the right chances with the advice and the help of Merit America, specifically my coach Robert. Before Merit, I was working three jobs. I was making less than $40,000 a year. And through all the networking and advice they gave me, my current job, I'm working 40 hours. I'm bringing in 55,000 a year as my base. There is so many great things that the company does on top of that that brings that value higher than I've ever made in my entire life.
You just heard the voice of April, an alum of Merit America's Data Analytics program. I want to welcome you all to another episode of Promoted, a podcast about leaving low-wage jobs for good. I'm Robert Johnson, today's host and a Merit America coach. In this episode, we'll be discussing the importance of networking as part of your career journey. You get a chance to meet April and hear a little bit more about her story and her success and how she used networking to help land herself a fulfilling career. So April, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love giving back to Merit America because they gave me so much. It changed my entire life and my family's life.
I personally love that too, being your coach, to hear that you've made such a big change. And it also helps, keep me going in my job, to know that I can push people towards a better change for themselves and then come back and talk again and hear that it actually was successful for you. Honestly, I guess just talking a little bit more, you'd already shared a bit of your background with us. And could you talk a little bit more about what were your goals prior to Merit America? People as children get asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? So what were some of the aspirations you had prior?
So I honestly had very, very low aspirations. I try to be very upfront with everybody. And so as a child, I was undiagnosed with ADHD and autism, anxiety and depression. I went through my entire childhood and a majority of my teen years, I wasn't diagnosed with those things, and I didn't receive the help I needed until I was well into my 30s. So I honestly didn't have aspirations to go very far. And having those things happen, I dropped out of high school. I became a teen mom. I immediately worked just string after string of really low-end, no movement jobs. There wasn't much going on there for me, so I didn't dream big.
And I can understand that, but you talked a little bit about some of the more mental health related issues you ran into and then the neurodiversity you had. When choosing Merit America, did you feel that we would be able to also accommodate those kinds of things? Or what made you feel comfortable applying to Merit?
I felt super comfortable applying to Merit because I saw other people through TikTok of all places who were already in the program who were just like me. And I was like, that's a mirror of who I am. I had also received that diagnosis and had started receiving the help and care I needed. So that spurred me to start this journey.
I love to hear that you felt support in us. We do try to help everyone that we can. We even have a lot of projects and pushed out people who are neurodiverse because we want to reach everyone. Did you ever feel that those kinds of setbacks were things that would hinder you from getting a role? Did you feel like that was going to be a big problem or obstacle for you?
We think differently, and there are drawbacks to that, but there are also incredible benefits to it. So it's a double-edged sword. And when you are undiagnosed and you're not receiving help, all you can see is the bad. So yeah, I was like, I'm never going to get the really cool, neat jobs. I'm not going to have a career. I'm going to work retail. Not saying anything's wrong with your retail, but when you're at that base sales associate job, it's supposed to be a springboard job. You don't want to work that base one forever.
Here at Merit, we try to help push people into being more inspired to, if they feel that what they're doing isn't fulfilling, that they can go into a different aspect or move along into something else. And obviously you can do that through applying to other roles, but sometimes you apply just to the beginning roles. And then sometimes you can almost talk your way to a role. And so kind of a quick little segue into today's topic. We want to really talk to all of you listeners today about networking, the importance of networking, and how it actually could benefit and help you. Networking can be kind of daunting for the job search because many individuals find it intimidating to reach out to strangers or even create a LinkedIn profile. And April, I remember you shared early on that networking wasn't something that you were super good at, or maybe something you really wanted to push for when we first met. But thinking about your initial experiences with networking, what were some specific challenges that you faced?
Believe it or not, I'm a very introverted person. Even with networking, that is the hurdle that an introvert will face is, oh gosh, I have to talk to somebody new and I don't know them. And if I say the wrong thing, they're not going to like me. And everybody wants to be liked. Mm-hmm. And it's very scary.
Yeah. And I'm glad you bring up being scary because, it's not something super easy. And everything in today's age, kind of creating your network seems easier through social media, but it's also a little more disconnected because it's so many people, such small conversations. How did you motivate yourself to kind of overcome that intimidation or hesitation you kind of felt?
Your classmates, your pod group, they were the best people that we could practice on. And I know it's cliche, but practice makes perfect. And that safe environment that Merit fostered within our class group, you slowly got more comfortable. And then a realization I was like, you know what? This is remote. That person, why am I scared of them? They can't reach through that screen at me. And so I was like, well, okay, go for it. I'll send 1 million messages and I'm going to get 1 million no's, but is that hurting me physically? Mentally, you have to overcome you're going to get a lot of rejections, but I just needed one yes.
And I love that you bring up that, and I love hearing how you were able to overcome this feeling of tension through the fact that we're behind a screen. A big common conversation right now, it's controversial conversation, is how much time we spend behind a screen, how much time we spend looking at information from other people or just talking to people online versus in person. But a benefit you can pull out of that is what, like you said, they don't have any power over you. They can't actually physically be involved with you. You can just mute. You could deafen, you can hang up, you can do whatever you'd like and separate any kind of poor situation you have. And so I absolutely love to hear that. And I actually really want to go into, a big reason why you're here is that you have a really inspiring networking journey that even as me as a coach, I haven't had repeated by another learner. And I would love to hear a bit of your breakthrough through LinkedIn that kind of led you in your role.
I got on LinkedIn. This is like post-COVID, where people were still pretty much remote. And I did every event I could get my hands on. I did kind of narrow my focus towards something with diversity and inclusion, mainly because I'm neurodiverse. I am not the typical career change person. I'm not young. So I was like, these meetings with diversity and inclusion and women are where I need to be, and I'm going to meet these wonderful people that are hosting and talking about their companies and all of that great stuff. And then we had that really cool class on networking, and you guys motivated us. You said pick 3 people and send them a message that you are not connected to, and you're gonna get no response maybe that first time. But, you might, and let's see where it leads and let's see where it goes. And so I took that lesson to heart. And after each of the LinkedIn events that I would go to, I would send a message to the presenters and just thank them for their time. Some would get back to me. We'd connect on LinkedIn. I would see more events. I would talk to more people. And then I went to an amazing event called Women in Leadership. And it was about how to advocate for yourself. And it was put on by LinkedIn and Model Expand. And I met somebody from Slack, and they had another person from ILM, and they had a person from Google, and they had the Model Expand, and they had a person from Humane. And it was such a great series. And after this event, I sent messages to everybody on there, thanking them. And I met this wonderful person, and her name was Jessica Teach. And at the time, she was a VP of operations. And she messaged back And I told her how amazing I thought ILM was because I've always been a Star Wars fan. And I always loved visual effects, which feature heavily in sci-fi things. And she messaged me back. And I was like, I just want to hear what it's like to work at ILM. I didn't put any expectations on it because I didn't think I could ever get a role like that. And she was so wonderful and so nice and was like, yeah, I'd love to talk about ILM. And at the end of that meeting, all we had discussed was how amazing that company was and how they're trying to do all this diversity and inclusion. And they started this wonderful program and series on YouTube called Get in the Door. And it was about all the different people and different roles at ILM. She got me in touch with 3 other people at ILM about different roles that I might be interested in. The ball started rolling down the mountain at that point. And before I had finished with the Merit America program, I had a job offer at ILM. It's so amazing that that happened. I won the lottery. I wake up every morning. I'm so happy to go to work.
I can hear like, there's some bit of emotion to this, but also like it's such a impactful story to listen to because especially how you started this off, talking about how anxiety can get in the way of things and how it's scary to reach out to people and how you even said you just took a chance and you said, I'm just going to send a message to everybody. And you went from being a Star Wars fan to working towards Star Wars from just a jump to talk to somebody.
One of the number one things people tell me is when I come on to the job every day, because I'm remote, they're like, you bring an energy that we need. It can get a long, grueling process to make a show, but I'm just so excited to be here.
I want to kind of actually talk a little bit about the opposite end of this, actually, because right now we're hearing this greatness and hopefully any listeners right now are going, wow, she made such a huge jump. But there's another portion of networking that's kind of, I guess, the elephant in the room or the reason why people are so nervous. And it's this fear of rejection. Do you recall or did you face any kinds of rejections or setbacks or maybe silence from people you really wanted to talk to?
Definitely. There's a lot of rejection. And honestly, when we use the word rejection, I feel like it's unfair. What it is it's a learning experience. I thought I wanted to be like in games, the analytics of video games. That's why I was in the program that I was in. And I sent messages to people at, let's say, Epic Games, 2K. I applied for and talked to so many of those people. But I also got a lot of silence, just emptiness, just yelling into the void. And it was sad because that was my goal that I was like, that's where I want to go. That's the path I want to move in. And I think with that mind shift that Merit helps you with, I was like, okay, it's not a rejection. It's learning what didn't work. It's always a learning experience. And with each experience, I got better at selling myself. I got better at networking. And we would share all those things between our classmates, which was amazing. So when I found out something didn't work right, they found out something didn't work right.
Yes. And that's also into your networking with the network you already have and spreading what you've learned to them. And I love that you reiterate that this is a learning opportunity. Every failure, every time something goes poorly, it's a time to learn from it. And a big portion to networking, not even just networking, communicating in the virtual space, the tone of what you're trying to say doesn't always come off correctly, is that you can type something out. And as people could hear, April, you have a bubbly, a very upward personality that's very, contagious. But you may type something that to us or to someone reading may come off very rude. I don't know if I told it to you whenever you're in my small group or my squads, but I tell it to every small group now is, hey, be careful with my messages, that if you read anything from me, read it in my voice because my way I type sounds very direct. It sounds very blunt and it can make someone feel a certain type of way. And so trying to learn that navigation of what to say or how to say it kind of just comes from trial and error.
It does. And it's also something that not only is a struggle online, it is especially a struggle for women, people of color, anybody who's neurodiverse. There are small things that everybody has. I think the terminology is like microaggressions or forethoughts that click in a brain. You know, you're taught, oh, you don't want to be the brash woman in charge. You want to come off as gentle. And it is hard to navigate that with business and personality and online. And so it's really difficult to get your personality across without coming off as rude or brash or flippant even. I want to come across as somebody who's open and honest, and we can work together and we're peers on the same level. It's very hard.
Even here at Merit, with my own team, I had a quick lesson talking about communication. I talk about impression versus intention, where a lot of times people's intents don't come off through how they are or through their impression. Someone may say something that you go, why would you tell me that? Why would you do that to me? Or that's so rude of you. And you're sitting there like, wait, no, I was not trying to be rude at all. That was not my intention. But your intention is always seen. And that's kind of hard for people to go through. And I feel one thing that can help with intention is that when you reach out to people and they say, what do they want from me? Why are they here? One of the first things they might look at, especially in the space of LinkedIn, is try to find a little bit about you. And so I kind of want to segue a little bit into the profile, with LinkedIn being how you were able to create this wonderful opportunity. I would love to hear, how did you optimize your profile when you were working on LinkedIn to get this golden ticket? Or was there anything that Merit had told you or helped provided a resource that helped you make a better impression of yourself?
So we had a whole segment that we went and learned about your profile on LinkedIn. You guys shared with us statistics and data backed with science about what generally works. And then we all got together in smaller groups of about 4, and we each reviewed each person's new LinkedIn profile. That was priceless. Absolutely priceless to have somebody I knew who I already felt was going to be honest with me, was going to be open with me, was not going to hold anything back, but also professionally polite and tell me, this doesn't come across right. This picture doesn't look very professional. Because you can go through LinkedIn and you can see some profiles that aren't necessarily the greatest at selling yourself. And you guys showed us those examples, and we were able to pivot those and improve after every day, every week. Whenever we could, we would all get together and be like, hey, the way you worded this doesn't necessarily work. Let's use some buzzwords, which wasn't a really important part of that class. Is you're saying this, I know what you mean, so let's use that professional terminology. The professional lessons that Merit had sprinkled in with the actual classes where we learned data analytics helped with networking so much.
You know, you talked about, when involving networking, that you got feedback from other learners and, you know, you kind of got some value. Can you kind of share any instances where you found value in giving back or providing support for others? So what kind of brings you to this? What makes you want to help so much?
Because somebody helped me. Merit helped me change my life, my family's life, those who are around me and love me, my friends' lives. I want everyone else to experience this. I know where you are. I know where you've been. I've been there. All I needed was a tiny little push from somebody, anybody. I want to be that push for somebody else. Somebody helped you climb a ladder because somebody helped me climb a ladder. And if we all do that together, we can really change a lot and we can all succeed. I want everybody, even people I don't know, I want the best for them and for their lives because somebody out there wanted that for me.
I resonate with that so much. Me also being a learner prior to joining Merit America, I went through it and there were so many little things that helped me get into my first role in programming. And here I am as coach for the exact same reason that you come to volunteer and help with us as well, is that I was changed by Merit America. My entire life trajectory just did a whole 180 and started going upwards. And all I could think about while I was in my role in programming was, how can I do this to someone else? How can I help someone else get up this ladder that we just talked about? And I want to almost call it like a merit effect, where you get this help, this enjoyment. You can see that this dead end that I was looking towards, the top of the light at the end of the tunnel, well, it was the darkest place I've ever been. It was pitch black for me. So I didn't think I'd go anywhere. And then Merit showed me, oh, you just took a wrong turn over here. Let me show you. And I saw this light. And then all I wanted to do was go back in that cave and pull everyone else towards this light. And it's fulfilling to know that you also feel that. And I have other learners who talk about how they want to come back and talk about what they've done. And it just all shows how much one person can push another person into another person. And then as we talk about networking, it builds and builds and builds. And so it's just an absolutely lovely thing to hear from you. It's also really exciting to hear about how our learners grow and their career growths. And so I know you talked about a bit about your role being a production assistant, but since joining ILM, can you tell me a bit about how your career growth has gone? Like just things that you've learned, changes, things that you're better at now?
I was in the data analytics program, and you don't want to pigeonhole yourself into just data analytics roles. Those wonderful skills that you guys taught me can be utilized across a vast majority of roles. And so when I became a production assistant, I would show them, hey, I know how to do this. And they'd be like, oh my gosh, you just made this spreadsheet so much easier for me to use. You just made my job easier, which essentially is what a production assistant does. My job is everything and anything that I can do to help the person who is above me, because they have a smaller eyesight. They are focused, and further up, they are focused and focused and focused. So my job is to help them. And Merit taught me so many different skills. It's hard to put it in just a small amount of time and space. With all those skills, I have been able to utilize the learning techniques you guys taught me. I told everybody on each job that I took and each show that I've been on, my goal is to be the person who I can give that task to April. I know she's going to not stop till it's done. I'm not going to give up. I'm going to figure it out. And I feel like I have done that. And that is why my career has kept going and why I am still with this company, because I don't give up. I refuse to give up now because so many wonderful things have happened. If I persist, I know I'm going to keep those good things happening. And I'm hoping, honestly, I'm hoping to stay at ILM for my entire career. The environment they foster, the people I've met, the way that they invest in me and the people around me, I know I'm going to go far.
I love that you were able to take some of these learnings and apply them to your role. It's something that as a coach, I try to tell learners, and it's hard to understand until you're there, that merit can be intensive. It can be hard because of time management, but also the fact that we're an intensive program. We are meant to kind of build and show that some of these people who haven't been given a chance are some of the hardest working people in our entire country. Just a final thing I would love to hear from you is just looking towards the future. The future may not be as bleak as it used to be prior to you coming through our program. So I'd love to hear, do you have any goals or aspirations you're aiming for? Or what are your goals for your future now?
My goals for my future are so bright now. I am so excited about some of the next shows that I have the potential to work on. It is so amazing. I can't wait until I progress in my career, and I've started talking about it with the people that are right in charge of me, and I've slowly been asking for more responsibilities. And I've been exposed to different areas. And I know I definitely want to move towards working more with the animation side of VFX, because it is so neat and it's so cool to learn. And these artists that I get to see on a daily basis, they make magic. They make things out of thin air. And I love being the person that facilitates that for them. If they need something, I'm going to get it for you because I love what you do. You make some cool stuff. What can I do to help you make more cool stuff? I want to eventually get to a point where I am mentoring other people like me. I want to get to a point where I can be that person who makes that difference.
Amazing words from an amazing person. Thank you so much, April, for sharing your incredible journey with us. You know, your willingness to share how networking worked for you and how it will help others in their career journey is just inspiring. And to our listeners, if April's story resonated with you and you're interested in exploring how Merit America can guide you towards a rewarding career, visit our website at www.meritamerica.org. And with that, we conclude this episode of Promoted. So until next time.